The story begins with a furious woman in a red blazer standing in first class, her voice echoing through the cabin, "How dare you sit here? This seat isn't for people like you." Passengers gasp, phones rise to record, and all eyes turn to the young black woman by the window. Her name is Amara Sterling, but no one knows the truth yet. She's not just another passenger. She's the secret owner of the entire airline, and in her phone is a single button that could change everyone's fate on that plane. NTHE words cut through the quiet cabin like a knife. Passengers turn their heads, curious, some annoyed, as a woman in a bright red blazer loomed over a young black woman seated calmly by the window. NNTHE young woman's name was Amara Sterling. And she wasn't just any passenger. She was the owner of the entire airline. NNBUT. No one in that cabin knew it yet. Amara had just come from a brutal week of negotiations in Dubai, meetings that stretched until sunrise, lawyers battling over contracts, and executives fighting for their slice of power. She was exhausted, her head pounded, her body ached, and all she wanted was simple: to sit quietly in her first-class seat by the window, sip water, and close her eyes until the plane touched down. NNBUT. The arrogant passenger standing in front of her had other plans. Excuse me, Amara said calmly without raising her voice. "This is my seat. Here's my ticket." NSHE held it out, printed in bold letters. Seat 1A, first class. NTHE woman didn't even look at it. She crossed her arms and sneered. "No, please. Do you honestly expect me to believe you paid for 1A? You probably wandered up here by mistake. First class is for people like me." NNTHE insult wasn't direct, but everyone in the cabin understood exactly what she meant. Amara's skin, her simple grey hoodie, her lack of flashy jewelry, all of it was enough for the woman to decide she didn't belong. And then came the flight attendant. NNHER's smile was professional, but her eyes carried judgment. "Ma'am," she said, addressing Amara, "I believe there's been a misunderstanding." "Economy," is Amara interrupting. Amara interrupted, holding the ticket closer. "This is mine." Seat 1A. NNTHE arrogant passenger laughed. "Oh, come on. Do you know how much this seat costs? More than your monthly salary, I bet." "She's lying." NTHE flight attendant hesitated. She looked at the red blazer woman, then at Amara. And in that moment, she made a decision that would cost her career. "I'm going to need you to step out of this seat," she told Amara firmly. "If you don't, we may have to involve security." NTHE cabin stirred. Phones began to rise discreetly, passengers recording. Whispers spread. "What's going on? Why are they making her move?" Amara's lips pressed into a thin line. She could feel the sting of humiliation clawing at her chest, but she wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of seeing her break. "I've shown you my ticket," she said quietly but firmly. "I'm not moving." NTHE flight attendant sighed and walked briskly toward the cockpit. Moments later, the captain himself emerged, his cap tucked under his arm. He bent down, lowering his voice as if speaking to a child. "Ma'am, I don't know how you ended up here, but this seat is clearly not yours. You're delaying the flight. Do the right thing and go back to where you belong." Amara looked him dead in the eyes. "Where I belong? You're certain about that?" NNTHE captain straightened. "If you refuse, I'll have to call airport security. That could mean fines, a permanent ban from our airline, maybe even an arrest. Are you sure this is worth it?" And at that moment, the arrogant woman in red smirked in victory. She pulled out her phone and whispered loudly enough for others to hear. "Unbelievable. Holding us all up. People like her never know their place." NNTHE words hit Amara harder than she expected. For a second she thought of her mother, who once told her, "Never let anyone tell you where you belong. You decide that for yourself." Amara reached into her handbag. Slowly, calmly, she pulled out her phone. NNTHE arrogant woman rolled her eyes. "Oh, great. She's going to whine on Twitter." NNBUT Amara wasn't opening Twitter. She opened an app few people in the world had access to. An app that linked directly to the control center of the airline itself. At the very top of the screen was a single button. A button no ordinary passenger would ever see. And it was labeled, "Priority Owner Call." Amara's thumb hovered over it. But before she pressed, She looked around the cabin. Every eye was on her. Some sympathetic, some skeptical, some simply entertained. She spoke clearly, her voice steady. "You've threatened me with fines. You've threatened me with security. You've humiliated me in front of strangers. And all of this because you judged me by my skin, by my clothes, not by the facts in front of you. Do you want to know who I am?" NNTHE captain shifted uncomfortably. The flight attendant's face went pale. The arrogant passenger smirked again. "Narf, who are you?" she mocked. Narfar pressed the button. "Narf." Within seconds, the phone connected. A crisp voice answered on speaker N. "Ms. Sterling, what can we do for you?" NNTHE captain blinked. "Sterling." Passengers leaned forward, whispering. The name sounded familiar. Amara didn't take her eyes off the captain. "Yes, this is Amara Sterling, owner and CEO of Sterling Air." NTHE arrogant woman's smirk fell. The flight attendant nearly dropped her service tray. The captain's face drained of color. "I have just been publicly accused of trespassing in my own seat," Amara continued, her voice icy. "By your staff, by your captain, and by a passenger who seems to think she knows more about my airline than I do." NNTHE control center operator on the phone responded instantly. "Understood, Miss Sterling. Do you want us to recall the plane?" NNGASPs filled the cabin. Recall the plane. The passengers suddenly realized this wasn't an ordinary woman. She had the power to ground them, cancel the flight, ruin careers with a single word. Amara let the silence hang for a long, painful moment. She watched as the captain's hands shook slightly. The flight attendant's lips parted in horror. The arrogant woman's eyes darted around, searching for an escape. Finally, Amara spoke. "No, we won't recall the plane, but I expect an immediate apology. And when we land, I'll decide how many of you keep your jobs." Naomi Sen THE captain's voice cracked. "Miss Sterling, I had no idea. Please forgive." NTHE flight attendant nearly bowed. "We're so sorry, ma'am. We should have checked the ticket properly." And the arrogant passenger? She stuttered, face red as a tomato. I didn't mean I thought." Amara turned her gaze on her. "You thought wrong. Remember this moment. Next time, don't judge someone's worth by what they look like. You never know who they really are." NNTHE cabin erupted in whispers, some passengers nodding, others quietly cheering. Phones were still recording, and Amara knew by morning the video would be everywhere. As she settled back into her seat, eyes closing at last, she whispered to herself, "Nah, mother was right. No one decides where I belong but me." And this time, no one dared disturb her again. And that was the moment everyone on board learned a lesson they would never forget. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more.